everyone, welcome to 5 More Minutes, the show where two friends relive their childhoods, maybe, or in some cases, they learn about everything they missed out on. I'm Kendra.
I'm Scott.
Yeah, we're talking really quizzically today, because why not?
And every sentence with a question?
Yeah. I feel like my students who ask questions every time they speak.
Yeah, they're terrible about that.
Mhm.
Gosh, asking all the questions. Okay, here's some dumb jokes.
Heck yeah.
How do you make 7 even?
I don't know.
Take away the S.
Oh. I thought really hard about that one to try to figure it out.
You had that face going.
Yeah.
What else do we got here? It might snow pretty soon. What do you call it when a snowman throws a tantrum?
Is this like a spoiler for Frozen 2 where Olaf dies?
I don't think so, but
I don't know.
A meltdown.
Oh, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Then I'm getting to the point where a lot of these on this list I've heard. I mean, why do people still bother to even put why do you call cheese? What do you call cheese that isn't yours? Why do they still put that on joke lists? Everybody knows that.
I don't know that joke.
What?
What do you call cheese that isn't yours?
Yeah.
Cheeses.
Nacho cheese.
Oh, I did know that.
Yeah, I don't know how you made it through life without.
I definitely did know that. Yeah.
These are some quote unquote one-liner dad jokes.
Huh?
I used to be addicted to soap, but I'm clean now.
Wow, that's like a dad walks into a bar.
Dude, the next one on the list, a guy walks into a bar and he was disqualified from the limbo contest. Do you get it? Because if you hit the bar when you limbo.
Yeah. Right when you started to say that, I understood.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, just, a number of great jokes online.
Yeah. Well, I did just refresh. I haven't looked at the Spartan races in a bit. There is one the day after your birthday in Las Vegas. So just throwing that out there, it'd be a quick weekend, but like Vegas Spartan race.
Yeah. But I also don't know how physically demanding that is.
Right.
I still won't be at.
That must be how come I didn't send you that one the first time, because it's early.
Yeah.
There's one May 6th in Montana, Big Fork. I don't know where that is, but it looks pretty on the picture.
Yeah. That's all that matters.
There's one in Big Bear, California in May. Monterey, California in June. There's one Colorado, June 10th. That's a bit of a drive.
A little bit. I think all of these will probably be a bit of a drive.
or if you bought flights in advance, they probably wouldn't be super expensive flights.
Yeah.
But anyways, just saying. July 8th in Utah, You don't know. You can get in like wedding shape and stuff too,
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. I haven't even really been doing a good job of going to the gym. Like, I still work out, it's just not as good.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think I did something to mess up my left foot. Like I might have plantar fasciitis or whatever.
Yeah, I've had that before. It sucks.
So, and I don't know, because I got it like right after I was done using the spin bike quite a bit. And I was like, oh, maybe I heard it on that. But then everything I read says, no, biking and things like that are good for it. You just shouldn't run or do anything else like that. Like,
yeah, I got mine from like running. That's how come when I buy my running shoes, I look for ones that have like a good like reviews for that, because I think I'm like really prone to getting it.
I'm gonna get some insoles and see if that helps or not. So
heck yeah, man. Do you have anything else to talk about?
No, I guess not. I had to bring my car in again to have them rewrap the front, because they did that like clear wrap,
Wait, did you already bring it in once?
Yeah, they did it the first time.
Oh, and then you're just saying you brought it back because it was messed up.
Yeah. And then they did it again today, but then they couldn't do the rear bumper little black strip. It had a bubble in it. And he's like, oh, my guy couldn't do it today. So I have to bring it in again. And I'm still not like, the wrap they did on the front is better, but it's still probably only like, 95%. There's still like little bubble here and there, but I'm not going to bother them.
I feel like that's like almost standard enough thing. Like some dealerships like require those. Like sometimes you can't like not get that when you buy something.
Yeah. And I mean, to their credit, the hood and the doors are really good, but it's the front bumper, all the angles on that grill and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand it's probably not easy, but it's still a pain in my rear. So
I'm just still upset that I can't build a Corolla.
It'll never happen.
Yeah. I don't know. Because, like I need to continually think about what my next decision is going to be for multiple months before I do it.
Yeah.
And, I'll just probably decide when it happens.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, my truck has like 220,000 miles on it. I could just keep it because it's not like I need one right now. But then, because then if I got another car, I'd have like two cars that need more maintenance. Because I feel like it would be better to wait. Like you don't even know when the 4Runner is going to be available, or like how easy it's going to be to get it. So like,
yeah,
I don't know.
You know how it goes.
It does make me kind of annoyed that there's no hybrid hatchback though, because like I really didn't want to get another new vehicle that wasn't a hybrid. And like they have hybrid hatchbacks in like other countries, so it's not like they don't do it.
Yeah.
Like in Europe, like the wagons and stuff are all like hybrid.
Yeah, they just wouldn't be as popular in the US,
Yeah, except all these states are like passing those laws for in like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
People are mad about because they think that they have to stop driving their car when that's not at all what it means.
Yeah.
I don't understand
people will be people.
I also don't know what I did to get on so many Republican like text lists, but the amount of things that I have replied stop to, and I still get like I finally stopped getting Tiffany Smiley ones, but I keep getting calls. I don't answer. I think every day I get like 3 spam calls at work that are probably like Tiffany Smiley calls. And then today I got one that says, while Democrats in Washington are trying to defund our police, Kathy McMorris Rogers is fighting for our law enforcement officers. And I'm just like, what did I do to deserve this amount of text messaging barraging?
There was like 1 week that I got 3 from Tiffany Smiley. And it's been like a month or two ago now. But
oh, really? I've been getting them like consistently.
But I replied and I said, stop sending me shit, psycho bitch. And then I've never got another message again.
Wow.
So however that
it either hooked on to the first stop that you sent, or it just like was like, damn, like did someone monitor that? I don't know.
Or like the guy that was sending them out for that number, we're like, okay, let's put this guy on a list.
Yeah.
So wow, there you go. Pro tip, try that out.
Yeah. Call people bitches, bitch.
Yeah. Kendra's good at it.
Yeah. It's my new favorite word as a 31-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't really have anything new to report other than probably a third life crisis. And
nice.
My arms are both really sore. So I didn't really work out today because I got my COVID booster in this arm and my flu shot in this arm. And my flu shot actually hurt worse. Like this arm is more sore than my COVID booster. I
get both of those on Friday because good thing Cheyenne checks, but at the convention, they require you to at least have 1 booster even. So vaccine is not enough anymore. So I need to be boosted, and I'm just going to get my flu shot at the same time. That's next Friday, like not this Friday, but the following.
Isn't that Veterans Day?
No, this weekend's Veterans Day, right?
No, next weekend is Veterans Day.
Well, then yes.
That's weird.
I mean, the convention itself's only on Friday and Saturday.
That's true. I guess it's just the observance day, not the actual. Wait, no, Veterans Day is Friday, so it is on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Because Friday, November 11th. Anyways, that made me confused. I think I'm going to Portland for one day. Trying to decide if I should buy all my tables or if I don't want to spend money or not. I'm probably going to want to not spend money.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah, because my earbud, like I told you, like this one, the right one doesn't stay charged longer than like an hour. And I
Yeah.
was trying to make them last like, I mean, I've had them almost 3 years, so like I have had them for like, and I use them a lot. It was until recently. I guess I could try cleaning it like with alcohol to see if that helps, but so I might look for like a Black Friday like uh earbud sale.
Oh yeah.
Heck yeah. Anyways,
Black
I guess we
Friday.
can, because like I kind of want to get a TV, but I feel like I don't really like need a TV, you know? So
Yeah. We kind of want to get another one that's bigger and slightly better, but
I
also
mean the
don't need one.
TV I'm using is like 14 years, but I also didn't pay for it. So
Yeah. Good value. Good value.
yeah. And it's not that bad for a 2009 TV either. So it was ahead of its time.
That's right.
My mom was actually, when I had my Forerunner, was confused that it had cruise control because it was a 96. And that was like pretty standard on like Toyotas at the base level, but it wasn't standard on other base level cars.
My 91 Celica had.
Yeah, I think it was like standard on Toyotas like long before it was standard on like American cars or something.
Probably.
Yeah, because she was like, I never had a car that old that had cruise control, and I was like, oh.
Who knows?
I'm gonna do a mini series on dragons.
Dragons.
I was gonna try to cover more today, and then I realized that the history of dragons encompassed more than I could talk about in this amount of time. And I even watched a History Channel show on YouTube called, it was an Ancient Mysteries episode, and it was called Dragons, Myth versus Legend. And it was definitely from the 80s because you could tell by the people. And also they were all in a organization about cryptozoology organization that doesn't exist anymore, the International Society of Cryptozoology.
Okay.
And it was founded in 1982 and disbanded or ceased to exist in 1998. So this episode was somewhere between 1982 and 1998. I probably could have looked it up, but I didn't. So I kind of watched that while I was making my notes. So it informed some of this, but I'll probably watch it again when I do. I also thought I might have an episode where I talk about famous dragons and things. Lots of famous dragons.
Yeah.
You know, there's Shenron. Is that right?
Yeah.
And there's like dragons in, you know, D&D, but I could have a whole episode on D&D dragon lore. And there's like House of Dragon. And
House of the Dragon.
Game of Thrones just generally has dragons. Like everything has dragons, you know?
Right.
And like, why? Why are we so obsessed? Like, if I was a dragon, I'd be singing that song. Why are you so obsessed with me? You know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dragon got advanced vocal skills.
Oh, hell yeah. And I think this is gonna stay the whole time unless I bump my thing.
You usually bump it at least once.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that does usually happen.
Yeah. We'll see. Put your bets on now.
Yeah. So I did get a lot of my stuff from the History Channel show. And surprisingly, a lot of it came from the Britannica encyclopedia. And then I filled in some gaps with the Wikipedia. Nice. And all the Wikipedia stuff had so many sources that I was like, you know what, this is accurate enough for this podcast that 25 people listen to. So I also feel like for some reason I'm like peaking my mic and I don't know what I'm doing, but I can hear it. So hopefully it's just me hearing myself.
Yeah, it doesn't sound bad over here.
Yeah, I think it's just me. Anyways, so this episode is Birth of the Dragon.
Birth of the Dragon.
Episode 1 in my History of Dragons saga. Nice. I don't know if it's going to be a saga, but because isn't a saga like 3? Does it have a number?
I think it starts at 3, right?
How many in a saga? In a saga. Sequels, trilogies, and franchise.
It kind of works then.
A series of 4 films is called a tetralogy.
Nice.
I don't know. I can't really find a specific answer, but in my mind, it's 3.
Yeah, I would agree.
And in books, 4 is a cycle because isn't that the inheritance cycle? Like the Aragon books? Like I feel like it's called the inheritance cycle. which I thought was weird. Like, I remember that coming out, the fourth book, and being like, the hell is that for?
A cycle.
Yeah, it says the inheritance cycle. It says the inheritance cycle is a tetralogy of young adult high fantasy novels. Okay. Anyways, so we're talking about the birth of the dragon. And the dragon has strong folklore origins. So there were too many origin stories for me to pick out every single country and or continent.
Sure.
But I did go through and pick out several. So yeah. So dragon in the mythologies, legends, and folktales of various cultures are usually large lizard or serpent-like creatures conceived in some traditions as evil and in others as beneficial, which we will see in our stories. So it kind of depends on where you're at. The original origin, like where it first arose from, like the dragon, is highly disputed among scholars who study dragons, cryptids, I guess, probably. And there have been many hypotheses about this origin. And I don't remember. I can talk about them in the end if I didn't put them in here, because some of them were really interesting. There's like two main ones mentioned on the Wikipedia page, and one of them was that it's like kind of like a genetic thing where humans evolved being afraid of like snakes and other serpents. Yeah. And so we kind of created dragons in our mind. That's like one of the like highly disputed hypotheses. An inherited instinctive reaction to snakes, large cats, and birds of prey, which we kind of do.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Also, this uses the phrase dank caves, and I think we all know what that means.
Dank caves. Whoa.
And then one of the other main hypotheses is that the finding of large fossils belonging to dinosaurs may have caused people to create dragons, basically. So
yeah, imagine being, in the Stone Ages and finding a big freaking skull like that and be like, what the heck is this?
Because while dragons more typically closely resemble serpents, I mean, like, you could also kind of get dinosaur vibes from some of these,
Oh yeah,
like long tails. Both of this guy's wings have broken off at some point, but this is a dragon reading a book.
Look at that. He is reading a book.
He's a scholar and a gentleman.
Very nice.
So anyways, those are kind of it seemed like those were kind of the two biggest ones, or maybe the most common hypothesis proposals. So anyways, let's see here. The form of dragons. Like I mentioned, this varies. In general, in the Middle Eastern world, the dragon more closely aligns to a snake, because snakes are very large and deadly in the Middle East. So they tend to be a symbolic representation of evil for those areas, I guess. Yeah. So yeah. So I'm not gonna read all that because I'm gonna get into it more later. But on the whole, the evil reputation of dragons was stronger in other places like Europe and basically anywhere where there was Christianity, because Christianity confused the ancient benevolent, I like saying that word, and malevolent, anyways, whatever, serpent deities in a common condemnation. Yeah, so in Christian art, which we're going to talk more biblical stuff later, the dragon came to be symbolic of sin and paganism, and so it was depicted beneath the heels of saints and martyrs. Martyrs. Did I say that weird?
Like you did say it weird.
I like accentuated like every single letter.
Yeah, the martyrs.
So yeah, so the dragon's form varied pretty much from as early, like if you see like carvings and like rock stuff, like it's varied like from as early as time. I feel like now the dragon is much more consistent. Like except in those other places where it plays like a bigger role in the culture, it's typically depicted like this, except in the places where it has more of like a historical like impact on the culture.
Sure.
We're gonna talk more about Tiamat later. Tiamat is also a dragon in D&D. But Tiamat is a very big dragon in dragonology. I made that
Dragonology. Very nice.
And Tiamat is depicted as having 4 legs, a scaly body, and wings, whereas the biblical dragon, specifically of Revelation, is considered the old serpent and was many-headed in a similar way to Hydra. And so because they not only possessed both protective and terror-inspiring qualities, but also had decorative like effigies, dragons were used as warlike emblems. And you can see those in a lot of stories, like in King Agamemnon from Homer's Iliad, which I kind of read a long time ago.
Yeah.
And in the practice of Norse warriors. So it just like appears, it's like it's on like armor, it's like their banners, whatever.
Yep. Intimidation.
Oh yeah. In the 20th century, the dragon was officially incorporated in the armorial bearings of the Prince of Wales.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fancy.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the overarching like information on the birth of the dragon. And then I tried to cut a lot of stuff out of these to make it more concise, but I still might kind of have to do that while I'm reading. So it may not be the most concise thing. There's a lot of information, and I was trying to pick the most important parts of what I was reading. But I'm kind of just going to go through some more intense origin stories from different locations. And I did have to leave some of them out because there were too many.
All right.
Yeah. So this next section is Asian folklore. And I only picked some of the countries because there's just too many. Like it was slightly different in each, literally like each one had information. But in Asian folklore, the dragon tended to be good or beneficial, typically bringing things like rain. But in China, and I do have probably the most information for China than any other place. But in China, the word dragon has come to be applied to the legendary creature in Chinese mythology. I don't know how to say a lot of these words, so I'm probably just not going to, because I don't know if that's an I or an L, but I think Iung or Long. Anyways, which is associated with good fortune, and many East Asian deities and demigods have dragons as their personal mounts or companions.
So
why don't I have one of those?
In Dragon Ball Z, you already said Shenron. In their language, R and L is interchangeable, so it's Shenlong. So there you go.
That might be how come I kept seeing like some different spellings of things, and I was like, I'm sure this is because it doesn't like translate perfectly, but it's really confusing. Dragons were also identified with the Emperor of China, who during later Chinese imperial history was the only one permitted to have dragons on his house, clothing, or personal articles. And I feel like at some point, in I don't know what grade, we learned a little bit about Chinese stuff, like those terracotta soldiers and like, and I feel like a lot of my knowledge comes from Mulan. Is that in China?
Yeah.
Okay. Then I was like, wait, is that a different country?
No, you're right.
Okay. So I know a lot of these words, but I don't remember when they are. Is Mulan during the Han Dynasty though?
I can't remember if it was the Hong
or the Shang. What dynasty? Because I sometimes get confused because the bad guy's name is Mulan set in. Because Mulan is like a fiction, like an actual like folk story from.
Yeah.
It just says Northern and Southern Dynasties era, so maybe it wasn't. Oh wait, is Mulan set in Han Dynasty? That's in some ways it's depicted in that, but it goes back further than the Han Dynasty. I can't find where the actual movie.
The Northern Wei Dynasty.
Yeah, the Disney movie is probably just like a whatever, because.
Yeah.
Basically. Oh, it says that the Disney movie's plot takes place during the Han Dynasty.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
Nailed it down.
Sidetrack. So the Chinese dragon was roughly established in the Shang and Zhou dynasties, which is 202. Oh no, wait, that was before this. And then in the Han dynasty, which is 202 BC to 220 AD, Yinglong was a symbol of feudal imperial power and frequently appeared in royal dragon vessels. So most of the dragon image designs were this specific dragon Yinglong, and that's the first one on that picture.
Yeah.
It's got like really intense horns. Like his wings are more feathery, which I think is interesting because most dragon wings are these days are like depicted as like papery almost, I guess.
Like a bat wing.
Yeah. So that's Yinglong.
Nice.
Yeah, and
got some sweet whiskers too.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't? According to the records, the Chinese mythology 2,200 years ago, Yinglong had the main characteristics of later Chinese dragons. I think he had the power to control the sky and the noble mythical status. But then the image of the real, or in the Tang and Song dynasties, which is 618 to 1279 AD, the image of the dragon symbolizing China's imperial power was no longer Yinglong with wings, but the common wingless yellow dragon. And I just like this one better, so that's the one I included.
Nice.
Yeah. The Great Wall of China also looks like a dragon lying across the mountains and deserts. I don't know if that was like on purpose or not. I kind of couldn't find that. There was too much information on the Great Wall for me to weed through yesterday. But they did buy it to repel invaders, so defense mechanism. And then many Chinese customs revolve around dragons. So they have the Spring Festival and the Lantern Festival where villagers construct 16-foot-long dragons from grass, cloth, bamboo strips, and paper, which they parade around the city. I think we've all probably seen some image of those like puffy ones that they
people walk around in.
Yeah, you like walk around in and you hold up, some of them just have like the face or whatever.
Yep.
Starting during the Han Dynasty and continuing until the King Qing. I feel like I know how to say that and I forgot. The Chinese emperor gradually became closely identified with dragons, and emperors themselves claimed to be the incarnations of a divine dragon. Eventually, dragons were only allowed to appear on clothing, houses, and articles of everyday use belonging to the emperor, and any commoner who possessed everyday items bearing the image of the dragon were ordered to be executed.
Damn.
Yeah. After the last Chinese emperor was overthrown in 1911, this changed, and now many ordinary Chinese people identify themselves as descendants of dragons.
Very cool. I wish I could be a descendant of a dragon.
I know, right? But they also have something called a dragon boat race, which is where people race across a body of water in boats carved to look like dragons, with a bunch of audience members watching. It's a big deal. So generally just a lot of dragon. It's like a big part of their culture,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, in Japan, Japanese dragon myths are native legends with imported stories about dragons from China, which makes sense. It's all relative. Like other Asian dragons, most Japanese ones are water deities associated with rainfall and bodies of water, and are typically depicted as large wingless serpentine creatures with clawed feet. So this is different because in most of the other representations where the dragon is a serpentine creature, it's evil. But since this is like a water deity, it makes more sense. And I believe the next picture is a painting of one of those. So nice. It really kind of looks like a snake with 4 legs and a dragon head. Like that's like it. I mean, it basically looks like this, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or at least the body and the legs and stuff. So let's see, which one is that? That was just a painting of like a general Japanese.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's see here. The Japanese dragon is invariably figured as possessing 3 claws, and a story about the samurai Minamoto no Mitsunaka tells that while he was hunting in his own territory of Setsu, he fell asleep under a tree and had a dream in which a beautiful woman appeared to him and begged him to save her land from a giant serpent which was defiling it. Mitsunaka agreed to help, and the maiden gave him a magnificent horse. When he woke up, the horse was standing before him. He rode it to the Sumiyoshi temple, where he prayed for 8 days. Then he confronted the serpent and slew it with an arrow.
Wow. Just 8 days of prey prep, and then boom, done.
Yeah. And then the last Asian area I have is Mesopotamia. So ancient people across the Near East believed in creatures similar to what modern people call dragons. So something more like this, I think. These ancient people were unaware of the existence of dinosaurs or similar creatures in the distant past. References to dragons of both benevolent and malevolent characters occur throughout ancient Mesopotamian literature. In Sumerian poetry, great kings are often compared to a gigantic serpentine monster called the Usungo, a draconic creature with the foreparts of a lion and the hind legs, tail, and wings of a bird appear in Mesopotamian artwork from the Akkadian period until the Neo-Babylonian period. The dragon is usually shown with its mouth open. That's the next slide, the stone statue. It may have been known as the Nairu, which means roaring weather beast, and may have been associated with the god Ishkur. A slightly different lion dragon with 2 horns and the tail of a scorpion appears in some art from a different period. But yeah, so this stone statue guy, which I've definitely seen that before too.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think I didn't really talk about this, but I think some of this was kind of related to gargoyles. Most gargoyles are pretty draconic looking. And that was too much for this episode. So maybe we'll dive in, because I mean I loved gargoyles when I was a little too. So yeah, we could dive into that. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead because I need to remember when my next picture is for. Okay. All right. So the next section is for medieval Europe.
Nice.
Yes. This is actually taking slightly less time to get through than I thought it would, but that's all right. So in medieval Europe, dragons were usually depicted with wings and a barbed tail and as breathing fire. So that's pretty standard too for what we know now. The story of a hero slaying a giant serpent occurs in nearly every Indo-European mythology. In most stories, the hero is some kind of thunder god. And in nearly every iteration, the serpent is either multi-headed or multiple in some other way.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's almost always associated with water. So it seems like a lot of the early dragon lore involves dragons being associated with water, but also having the ability to breathe fire, which I feel like doesn't necessarily make sense, but
it makes sense.
Yeah. Indo-European, I believe, is just inner Europe, if I'm understanding this map correctly. Hell yeah. Okay. So dragons were also very prominent in Greek mythology, as we know. The first mention of a dragon occurs in the Iliad, in which Agamemnon is described as having a blue dragon motif on his sword belt and an emblem of a 3-headed dragon on his breastplate. And I would just wear that every day, because why not?
Heck yeah. And he probably did.
Yeah. And in Greek, the word dragon derives from drakon. I think it's the accent on the O. I don't know what to do with. And it's Latin Draco, like Draco Malfoy.
Snake, dragon.
Ancient Greeks applied the term to large constricting snakes. The Greek drakon was far more associated with poisonous spit or breath than the modern Western dragon, though fiery breath is still attested in a few myths. So this is also interesting. Part of the reason why I want to talk about the D&D dragon lore is because in D&D, depending on the scale of the dragon, it affects like whatever their breath weapon is. So they definitely drew on like all these different like cultural representations of dragons when coming up with that.
Yeah.
There is also Drakena, the specifically female form or she dragon. The Drakena is occasionally treated differently from the more common masculine or gender neutral Drakon, often surviving by mating with a hero or being the ancestress of an important lineage. Yeah.
People want to be fucking dragons, dude.
Well, yeah. And then there are several dragons that appear in Greek mythology. There's Typhon. I think that's how you say that. He's the most fearsome monster in Greek mythology, the son of Gaia, the last son of Gaia, who we talked about before.
We did.
The earth goddess or whatever. And he is usually envisioned as humanoid from the waist up and serpentine below. So that's interesting. Then you have Ladon, who twined around the tree in the garden of Hesperides and guarded the golden apples. You have Lernaean Hydra, which is a dragon-like water serpent with fatally venomous breath, blood, and fangs, the daughter of Typhon and Echidna. The creature was said to have anywhere between 5 and 100 heads.
Nice.
Yeah, but it says most sources put the number between 7 and 9. For each head cut off, 1 or 2 more grew back.
Just like that Hercules, you know?
Yeah. And then you have Pytho, which is the earth dragon of Delphi, represented in the vase paintings and by sculptors as a serpent. The Colchian dragon, known as Drakon Kolkikos, and is another child of Typhon and Echidna, who apparently had a lot of children. This one guarded the golden fleece at Colchis. The golden fleece is the fleece.
Yes, go on.
The golden fleece is the fleece of the golden-wooled winged ram Chrysomalos that rescued Phrixus and brought him to Colchis. All these Greek words are hard to say. This dragon was said to never sleep, rest, or lower its vigilance. It's always watching. It's like Batman.
Damn.
The Ismenian dragon is the serpent of the spring of Ismene at Thebes, Greece, and was slain by Cadmus. It is an offspring of Ares, who apparently later turned the hero into a serpent. Helios dragon. The sun god Helios had a chariot drawn by winged dragons, which he gave his granddaughter Medea. Scythian Drakena. She was a woman from the waist up with a serpent's tail in place of legs. When Hercules was traveling through Scythia with the castle of Geryon, she stole some of the herd when the hero was sleeping. When Hercules woke, he searched for them, visiting every part of the country, and he came to the land called the Phaleia. And there he found in a cave the creature, which was the queen of that country.
Wow. She
insisted the hero mate with her before she would return. He did so.
Good job, Hercules.
Yeah. Gigantomachion dragon. A dragon that was thrown at Athena during the Gigantomachi. She threw it into the sky where it became the constellation Draco.
Oh, yeah. I actually have heard that one.
I haven't because I didn't take Science 9. And then Trojan dragons, 2 sea serpents who killed Laocoon and his sons. I wasn't planning on reading all of that, but then I just kind of went with it. So
yeah, why not?
Yeah. Okay. And then post-classical Western. So post-classical Western refers to the period of 500 AD to 1500, roughly corresponding to the European Middle Ages. This period is characterized by the expansion of civilizations geographically and development of trade networks between civilizations. It is also called the medieval era, post-antiquity era, post-ancient era, and pre-modern era.
Wow.
Just as a brief history.
Find more names for it.
So that we knew. That's part of the reason why some of these like ages in history are confusing, because they don't have consistent names.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Let's see. Was this? And then that next picture was just a picture of Cadmus fighting the dragon of Ares. It was hard to find good like pictures of Greek mythology ones, but that one looks much more like a snake. Like
it looks just like a snake.
I don't even see that it has like arms or anything. Like it just has kind of like a rooster, whatever you call that on a rooster, and then the little gobbler thing.
The gobbler.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I used to know what those were, and I don't. Okay. The next image is an image from post-classical Western times, which I think you can tell by looking at it. It's kind of odd.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's like two dragons in a pit and a bunch of medieval people just like walking around town.
They're like, this was preliminary dog fighting. It's just dragon fighting.
Yeah. Michael Vick, are you there?
Yeah. Ancestors.
Okay. So the oldest recognizable image of a fully modern Western dragon appears in a hand-painted illustration from the medieval manuscript MS Harley 3244. And I don't think that was this picture. That was just the oldest one. The dragon in this specific illustration, the oldest one, has two sets of wings, and its tail is longer than most modern depictions. Dragons are generally depicted as living in rivers, so still this kind of thing with water, or in underground layers or caves, which I feel like is a lot more common now.
Yeah.
They are envisioned as greedy and gluttonous with voracious appetites. The 13th century Golden Legend, written in Latin, records the story of Saint Margaret of Antioch, a virgin martyr who, after being tortured by her faith in the Diocletianic persecution and thrown back into her cell, is said to have been confronted by a monstrous dragon. Yeah. But she made the sign of the cross and the dragon vanished.
It's amazing what, like, torture and terrible conditions will do to hallucinations in your mind.
Yeah. There are different versions. In some versions of the story, she's swallowed by the dragon alive and then makes the sign of the cross on its stomach and emerges unharmed.
Nice.
Yeah. In post-classical Germanic, do you say Germanic or Germanic?
I would say Germanic. Yeah, German.
Obviously, in the Old English epic poem Beowulf, a slave steals a cup from the hoard of a sleeping dragon, which causes the dragon to wake up and go on a very destructive rampage throughout the countryside. The hero of the poem, Mr. Beowulf himself, insists on confronting the dragon alone, even though he is older in age. He is elder at this point. And we definitely read Beowulf in like
long ago.
Mrs. Caldwell's class, maybe?
Yeah.
Because wasn't she kind of like obsessed with it?
Yeah, and that was like right when the movie came out too.
Yeah, we saw that in theaters.
Yes, I don't remember anything about it.
I think I've watched it once more recently past that, so I remember the movie more than like the entire epic poem because its epic poems are long.
Yes.
Anyways, Wiglaf, the youngest of his 12 warriors that he brought with him, insists on accompanying his king into battle. Beowulf's sword shatters during the fight, and he is mortally wounded by said dragon. Wiglaf comes to his rescue and slays the dragon, but Beowulf dies and tells Wiglaf that the dragon's treasure must be buried rather than shared with the cowardly warriors who did not come to the aid of their king.
Nice.
Yeah, so...
no treasure for you.
Yeah, so this slave, which, I mean, the slave was a slave, so good on you for stealing the cup, I guess.
Yeah.
In the Old Norse Volsunga saga, I don't know super a lot about Norse mythology. I can't say words today. Like, I think it's because all of these words are like different origins, and it's just like really hard to say out loud.
Yeah.
The hero Sigurd catches the dragon Fafnir by digging a pit between the cave where he lives and the spring where he drinks his water, and kills him by stabbing him in the underside. At the advice of Odin, Sigurd drains Fafnir's blood and drinks it, which gives him the ability to understand the language of the birds.
Oh, what a useful power.
Yeah, and he hears the birds talking about his mentor, Regine, and that Regine is plotting to betray him so that he can keep Fafnir's treasures. So it is the motif of a hero trying to sneak past a sleeping dragon and steal some of its treasure. And that is very common in many Old Norse sagas.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And then in Russian and Ukrainian folklore, Zimy Gornich is a dragon. It has a first and a last name, which is part of the reason why I chose to include it. What's my next picture? Oh, rewind. I had a picture of a Germanic dragon.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait. This is. Why did I put Germanic? This is the Russian one.
Oh.
Okay, so this is where we are. So this is Zemny Gornich. This is who we're talking about right now.
Okay.
I don't know how else you would say that. Gorinich. Like
Gornich.
I don't know. Any Hoosers. Okay. So. Oh, I almost closed my notes. Okay. He is a dragon with 3 heads, each one bearing twin goat-like horns. I have to sneeze.
Okay.
He is said to have breathed fire and smelled of sulfur, which is great. It was believed that eclipses were caused by Gorinich temporarily swallowing the sun.
Oh.
Which honestly, I don't know. I feel like you can relate sulfur to somehow Russian and Ukrainian stuff because of like that. Just I know it's not the same, but it just makes me think of Chernobyl.
Yes, and clearly back when they were making up mythology, Chernobyl was around.
I don't know. Maybe it's just in the ground, you know?
Yeah, sure.
According to one legend, Gornich's uncle, his uncle dragon, was the evil sorcerer. I guess he wasn't a dragon, but the evil sorcerer Nemel Chelovek, who abducted the daughter of the Tsar. That's how you say that, right? Tsar. And imprisoned her in his castle in the Ural Mountains. Many knights tried to free her, but all of them were killed by Gornich's fire. Then a palace guard in Moscow named Ivan Tsarevich overheard 2 crows talking about the princess. What is up with all these people hearing birds talk?
Birds, man.
He went to the Tsar, who gave him a magic sword and snuck into the castle. When Chelovik attacked Ivan in the form of a giant, the sword flew from Ivan's hand unbidden. Unbidden? Why are words hard today? And killed him. Then the sword cut off all 3 of Gornich's heads at once on its own. Wow. Ivan brought the princess back to the Tsar, who declared Ivan a nobleman and allowed him to marry the princess.
But the sword was the hero.
Yeah, that one's kind of weird. I don't know. Like,
that's like a whole different vein to dive into someday. Like Russian folklore, that's got to be weird, right?
That's true. Yeah. Okay, so there was also it seemed this was mentioned in the History Channel documentary, and there was not really information on the Wikipedia. But I did find a dragon fandom article on this. Apparently, dragons were very popular in Mesoamerican folklore too. So, like, I just have the Aztecs as an example because that was the one that was mentioned the most in the History Channel. Thing. But Quetzalcoatl is a Mesoamerican deity whose name comes from the Nahuatl language and has the meaning of a feathered serpent. Hold on, I know I don't have this as the picture, but I'm trying to. Oh yeah, that's for when we get to Tiamat. Okay. The worship of a feathered serpent deity is first documented in how do you say this? I forget. Tehechicon. Do you remember how to say that? Teotihuacan. I forgot how to say that. Because I know that these words have like weird pronunciations, but yeah. In the late pre-classic through early classic periods of 400 BC to 600 BCE of Mesoamerican chronology, the worship of the feathered serpent deity was centered in the central Mexican religious center of Cholula. It is
Cholula, like the sauce?
No. Maybe. It is in this period that the deity is known to have been named Quetzalcoatl by his Nahal followers. In the Maya area, he was known as Kukulkan. Jesus Christ. A name that also translated as feathered serpent. In the era following the 16th century Spanish conquest, a number of sources were written that describe the god and relate him to a ruler of the mythico-historic city of Tolan, created by things I'm not going to say. It is a matter of much debate among historians to which degree or whether at all these narratives about this legendary Toltec ruler describe actual historical events.
Nice.
Yeah. So that one was a little bit harder to find information on. But yeah, there's a lot on this website about it. Tenoctolon. See, that's the word I was trying to say. So the other one, that's the one I know how to say, and that's a similar spelling. So this one is like Teotihuacan or something. I don't know. But anyways, okay, I didn't see this. Alternative interpretations. Some Mormon scholars believe that Quetzalcoatl is a white bearded god who came from the sky and promised to return. And that this was Jesus Christ. According to the Book of Mormon, Jesus visited the American natives after his resurrection. Latter-day Saint President John Taylor wrote, "The story of the life of the Mexican divinity Quetzalcoatl closely resembles that of the Savior, so closely indeed that we can come to no other conclusion than that Quetzalcoatl and Christ are the same being, but the history of the former has been handed down to us through impure Lamantish source, which has sadly disfigured and perverted the original incidents and teachings of the Savior's life and ministry."
Interesting.
Yeah, and then that's on like, I just searched that to make sure it was accurate. It's on like LDS websites too. So that is confirmed as something that President John Taylor of the LDS Church said. He was born in 1808 and died in 1887.
Okay.
Yep. And then back on that page real quick. Roman Catholic. In the 2004 book, The Bearded White God of Ancient America, The Legend of Quetzalcoatl, authors Donald and W. David Hemingway examine a theory among conquistador-era analysts that Quetzalcoatl may have been a New Testament-era apostle of Jesus Christ, such as St. Thomas. Donald Hemingway has previously taught religious studies classes at Brigham Young University. The aforementioned theory expressed by John Taylor and the Latter-day Saint movement is also discussed within this book.
Kind of interesting that it's that fresh.
Yeah. All right. And then I just have a little bit more stuff. So in the New Testament, like I mentioned at the beginning, the dragon often represents the devil. So I searched up some verses to read. It seems like it happens most often in the book of Revelation, which makes sense since that is like a prophecy of like the second coming or whatever.
Yeah.
So in Revelation chapter 20, are they chapters? Verses 1 through 3, it says, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season."
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Dramatic.
And then I guess I should have put this in the Mesopotamia section, but I didn't. But I had a little bit more on Tiamat. Tiamat is a Mesopotamian goddess associated with primordial chaos and the Salt Sea, best known from the Babylonian epic Enuma Elish. In all versions of the myth following the original, Tiamat always symbolizes the forces of chaos which threaten the order established by the gods, and Marduk is the hero who preserves it. Or Ashur in Assyrian. She is depicted in later periods as a female serpent or dragon based on vague descriptions of her in Enuma Elish, but no iconography exists from ancient Mesopotamia. Her name, according to scholar Jeremy Black, comes from the word Tiamtum, meaning sea. Although her name is referenced in much earlier Akkadian inscription, she does not figure in extant Mesopotamian mythology literature until Enuma Elish, written under the reign of Babylonian king Hammurabi from 1792 to 1750 BCE. And then, yeah, that next one with like the wall carving, that was an impression from the 8th century BCE, identified by several sources as a possible depiction of the slaying of Tiamat. So not super confirmed that that's what this is a representation of, but And
they could just be riding it.
Yeah, that's true. They could be, or dancing on it.
Mm-hmm.
But that is basically like a really long snake with 2 legs, it looks like. So,
yep. Very primitive.
And then just a brief blurb on dragons in literature and fiction. Obviously, I'm going to go down this more. But they've been portrayed in numerous works of literature, from classic things to Old English things, like we talked about. The Fairy Queen, where dragon creatures appear regularly. Most of these representations of dragons were negative, and they more often had a supernatural element for a hero to overcome, at least the older folklore ones. And then later fantasies, like The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, kept the view of dragons as kind of greedy and brought down by their own pride.
Yep.
And then several writers, such as Anne McCaffrey, started to explore a kinship between humans and dragons. And also, I mean, in Eragon, I'd say that's a kinship between a dragon
rider
and a man. Yeah. I haven't read that since like 7th grade, but you know,
there's a kinship in House of the Dragon. They ride dragons.
Yeah. Additionally, some Christian authors said that dragons were good before they fell from grace, as humans did. From the Garden of Eden, after Adam and Eve committed the original sin. Also, it says that contributing to the good dragon argument in Christianity is the fact that if they did exist, they were created by God, as were all creatures. It says that helping to change how dragons are viewed were movies such as Dragonheart. I've never seen that.
Ooh, we should watch that. That's a classic. It's Sean Connery as the dragon.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says that although given a medieval context, generally depicted dragons as good beings who in fact often saved the lives of humans, dragons have also been portrayed as friends of children, such as the song and poem Puff the Magic Dragon. Like my dad used to sing that when he had pain pills. Like one time he had hydros and he was like high. And he just kept like singing that song. And my mom was like, "Oh my God, shut up." Like
that's so weird.
Yeah. Maybe it was some like, when did that come out? Maybe that was some like suppressed thing from like when he was younger.
Puff, yeah, or maybe
definitely.
When wasn't that like the 60s?
Peter, Paul, and Mary, 1963. Yeah, so that was definitely like he was like 8 when that
he was
came
a
out,
kid.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, or 10, I guess, because he was born in 53. But yeah, he just like, I don't know, it was weird. So dragons are no longer automatically viewed as manifestations of evil beasts that must be defeated.
There you go.
Yeah. And then real life dragons, Komodo dragons, were unknown by Western scientists until 1912, and their common name came from rumors of a large dragon-like lizard occurring in the Lesser Sunda Islands. And I put a picture of a Komodo dragon because why not?
Look at that guy.
Yeah, they're kind of weird.
Closest thing we got, I guess.
Yeah. They have like, can you imagine getting like slapped by that? Like, look at its claws.
Yeah, they're freaking huge. How much can they weigh? I'm gonna go down a Komodo dragon hole. But yeah, those are serious. Like they're like
I had a link here. Yeah. They grow 10 feet in total length and attain a weight of about 300 pounds.
300-pound lizard.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It says that although most young are produced through sexual reproduction, females that are isolated from males sometimes produce offspring through parthenogenesis. Which is when a female develops, or a female gamete is developed without fertilization.
So basically, immaculate conception.
Mm-hmm. It says that it occurs commonly among lower plants and invertebrate animals.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, newly hatched young are 18 inches long, live in trees for several months. And adult Komodo dragons sometimes eat smaller members of their own species.
Savage. Rude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There are fewer than 1,400 adults. Oh, but so they are currently stable and at low risk from hunting and other threats.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Keep them as a species.
Yeah, it does say that a lot of the species habitat would be lost by 2040 to increased sea levels, so might be going down a little bit.
Oops, watch out.
Yeah, but anyways, that was kind of the birth of the dragon.
The birth of the dragon.
I had a backup quiz just in case, but it has been about an hour, so we can save that for a different dragon episode.
Okay.
But yeah, so how do you feel about the birth of the dragon?
Birth of the Dragon, pretty rad, dude. I mean, I'm a fan of dragons. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, if you're not a fan of dragons, like, what are you even doing with your life,
Yeah. What are you even doing here? What do you believe in?
She doesn't even go here.
Right? God.
Yeah.
So, no, I think it's super interesting. It's always cool. Like when China and I went to Chicago and we went to like the big museum there to go through like the Asian culture section and see all that old cool like dragon art and stuff like that, how prominent it was over there. I guess still is kind of.
This is just a side note while I quoted Mean Girls. One of my students yesterday, they had on like sunglasses because it was Halloween and their hood up and then taped a sign to that, like held the paper that says she doesn't even go here, just like in Mean Girls, and walked up to me and was like, do you get it? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I think they knew I would get it, but like, just
yeah. I mean, I'm surprised that they would watch that movie at this point.
I think it's still kind of popular. Like last year I quoted like You Go Glen Coco, and some of my students were like, what? And then I was like, it's from Mean Girls. And they were all like, yeah, we've seen that. We just don't remember the line. So
all
right. I mean, you also got to think like, let's see, when did this come out? They were young, but honestly, a lot of my students' parents are only a little bit older than us.
Right. Which is a scary thought.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm gonna do like Dragon Saga or tetralogy. I don't know. We'll see how many episodes. There's lots of dragons out there,
There's lots. And we could do a review on Dragonheart movie.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this is just a side note, but I was listening to And That's Why We Drink this week. And do you know the origin of Casanova?
No.
You know what a Casanova is generally.
Well, yeah, like a ladies' man. Was he like a killer or something?
No. He was an alchemist who fixed people's problems
by making them disappear.
He didn't kill anyone. He just but he got kicked out of like several countries, and his name is Giacomo Casanova.
So he was a con man, basically.
Yeah, it was actually really interesting, and he actually wrote a book. He said his life ended when he turned 49 because he lost all his money after that. And became a librarian. Like he was conning like rich people, kind of. And apparently in his book, he wrote that he had sex with over 120 people. But do you want to know how he lost his virginity?
Sure.
He was like up close with like the Pope. Like he was like very religious, like within like 2 degrees of separation from the Pope, basically. And he lost his virginity to 2 sisters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Epic.
So, yeah. I kind of want to read his book now, though. Like
another double spinoff. Did I mention the Vatican Girl documentary on one of our episodes yet? Because I watched that like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and that is wild. If you haven't seen that, you can go watch it. It's pretty crazy. It's on Netflix.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know what I think I was going to ask you about that like earlier, like before we started recording, and then I didn't. But yeah, so because like the hosts, they were talking, they were like, yeah, like generally like, like we all know what Casanova is. So then they were like, well, this guy pretty much like got his wish because like 250 years later, like people are calling like fuckboys Casanovas,
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
But it's pretty interesting. So
the name lives on.
Go listen to episode 299 of And That's Why We Drink, and listen to the other 298 episodes if you want to be one of the cool kids.
Damn, knocking on the door of that 300.
Yeah. They were upset that their 300th episode wasn't the one right before Halloween. Because that would have been epic. Because it's a spooky, like it's a paranormal murder, or, true crime podcast. So
if they go long enough, eventually they got to hit something.
Yeah. Anyways, Scott's gonna talk about something next week, and then I'm gonna talk about dragons again. Hell fucking yeah, bitch.
Woo!
I literally titled my PowerPoint in all caps, Dragons, bitch.
Yep.
And I sent you a weird GIF in the email.
Yeah, I saw that. The 70 thing.
Yeah, I just typed in 70 GIF and clicked on the first one.
I gotta pull up my email again. I don't think it even registered as a GIF. I think it was just still when I loaded
Well,
it.
I copy and pasted it from Google, and sometimes depending on the app, it doesn't work.
Yeah, it says the attachment is image.png. So
makes sense.
All right.
Anyways, do you have anything else to plug?
No, I don't think so. Just that Vatican documentary, because that is wild. Like, girl gone missing. No one heard of it for like 37 years. They still don't know what happened to her.
That's a long time.
And she disappeared. She's the only disappearance in Vatican City ever.
Wow.
So, and there's like conspiracy theories behind it. Like the church might be on it, mafia. I mean, you just got it. It's like crazy. Every time you're
maybe all of it.
Maybe all of it. Yeah, it very well could be. Like, this is one of those situations where like the simplest thing might not be the answer because it doesn't really make sense to be the simplest thing. So, but it was very entertaining, kind of long. I think there's like 4 episodes of an hour, but hey, give it a watch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna plug us. Follow us on our socials at 5MMPOD. Send us an email to 5FIVE@gmail.com. You can find us using the hashtag 5MMPOD. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Download the episodes. You could leave us a review. We're still waiting on some of those. We've got like 3, and one of them was me, if I'm being honest. And share it with your friends and family. Your friends who are your family who's more like friends and family.
Yeah, with that, we'll clock out till next time.
Hell yeah, bitches.
Bitch.
Bye.
Bye, bitch.